Amser maith yn ôl, roedd brenin yn byw. Ac oedd y brenin yma'n rheoli gwlad mawr, ond oedd y brenin yn gwybod roedd ei amser fel brenin yn dod i ben. Ac oedd rhaid iddo fe benderfynu pwy oedd yn mynd i reoli ei wlad pan oedd e wedi mynd. Nawr oedd gan y brenin dair merch, tair tywysoges. Ac un diwrnod, dyma fe'n casglu i'r dair i fewn i'w ystafell fawr yn y castell, a dwedodd e wrth ei ferched. Dwi am benderfynu pwy sydd yn mynd i reoli'r wlad hon pan dwi wedi mynd. Felly, dyma sach o aur i bob un ohonoch chi. Dwi eisiau chi fynd allan i fewn i'r wlad a dwi eisiau chi edrych am y peth mwyaf prydferth yn y byd mawr crwn. Bydd gyda chi un wythnos, ar ôl wythnos dwi eisiau chi ddod yn ôl i'r castell a newn ni edrych ar y pethau prydferth yma a newn ni benderfynu pwy sydd yn mynd i reoli ar ôl i fi fynd. Wel, dyma'r dywysoges gyntaf, y dywysoges hynaf, oedd hi'n gwybod yn syth ble i edrych am y peth mwyaf prydferth yn y byd. Dyma hi'n teithio i ben pellaf y wlad, i bentref bach ble roedd yr artistiaid i gyd yn byw. Ac oedd yr artistiaid yma yn peintio lluniau arbennig, yn creu pethau arbennig gyda'i dwylo nhw. A cherddodd y dywysoges hon o amgylch y farchnad ble roedden nhw'n gwerthu ei gwaith celf nhw yn edrych ar yr holl waith arbennig, a dyna lle gwelodd hi. Gwelodd hi llun arbennig, llun o dirwedd, ac oedd e mor arbennig. Oedd ei chalon hi'n pwmpio'n galed yn ei bron hi, ac oedd hi'n gwybod dyma oedd y peth mwyaf prydferth yn y byd. Felly, cymerodd ei sach o aur, rhoi'r sach i'r artist, cymeryd y llun ei lapio fe'n ofalus, a mynd â fe nôl i'r castell, wedi cyflawni ei ffasg. Nawr, yr ail dywysoges, aeth hi i'r gogledd. Aeth hi lan i'r gogledd i'r mynyddoedd, ble roedd y bobl yn palu yn y ddeiar ac yn tynnu o'r ddeiar y gemau mwyaf brydferth, mwyaf drud o'ch chi rioed wedi gweld. Aur, arian, diamwntau, oedd hi'n sgleinio yn yr haul, oedd hi'n gwybod, oedd hi'n sicr i ffeindio'r peth mwyaf brydferth yn y byd fan hyn. Wel, aeth hi o siop i siop yn edrych ar yr holl gemau arbennig hwn, ac yna, mewn un siop, mi welodd hi berl. Ac oedd y perl yma, oedd e mor berffaith, oedd lliwiau'r enfys i gyd yn symud ar ei arwyneb. A nath ei chalon hi'n pwmpio'n galed yn ei bron hi ac oedd hi'n gwybod dyma oedd y peth mwyaf brydferth yn y byd wrth gwrs. Felly cymerodd ei sach o aur, cyfnewid y sach o aur am y perl, lapio'r perl yn ofalus a mynd â fe yn ôl i'r castell, wedi cyflawni ei ffasg hi. Nawr, y dywysoges i yngaf, yr un olaf. Doedd dim clem gyda hi ble i fynd i edrych am y peth mwyaf prydferth yn y byd mawr crwn. Felly, ath hi am dro. Ath hi jyst i wandro o amgylch. Ac un diwrnod oedd hi'n cerdded ar hyd llwybr a daeth hi o hyd i hen ddyn. Ac oedd e'n amlwg yn syth nad oedd gan yr hen ddyn yma dim byd o gwbl, dim un ceiniog arno fe, ac hefyd oedd yn edrych yn llwglyd iawn. Wel, cafodd y dywysoges syniad. Dyma hi'n ymestyn i fewn i'w sach o aur hi, cymryd allan darn o aur a'i gwasgu i fewn i law yr hen ddyn. Ac o leiodd gwyneb yr hen ddyn yn syth a dyma fe'n gwenu. A teimlodd y dywysoges fach ei chalon hi'n codi. Wel, o hynny'n ymlaen, dyna be nath y dywysoges ifanc. Gath hi o bentref i bentref, tref i dref, trefach i drefach, a pob tro oedd hi'n cwrdd â rhywun oedd angen rhywbeth, oedd angen rhywfaint o help. Dyma hi'n ymestyn i fewn i'w sach o aur, cymryd allan darn o aur a gwasgu'r darn o aur i fewn i'w llaw nhw. A oedd pawb bob amser mor ddiolchgar ac yn gwenu gymaint oedd ei chalon hi'n ysgafn, ond ar ddiwedd yr wythnos, oedd y sach o aur yn wag. Doedd dim hyd yn oed un darn ar ôl, a doedd hi ddim wedi ffeindio dim byd, dim peth prydferth o gwbl i fynd yn ôl i'r castell. Felly, gyda'i phen hi'n isel, cerddodd hi'n ara deg yn ôl adre. Ac ar ddiwedd yr wythnos, oedd y brenin yn excited iawn. Dyma fe'n ymgasglu pawb i fewn i'w llys, gofyn i'r tair dywysoges i sefyll o'i flaen e, a dwedodd e wrth bawb, dyma le rydym ni yn mynd i benderfynu pwy fydd yn rheoli'r wlad pan dwi wedi mynd. Wel, trodd e at y dywysoges gyntaf, a dwedodd e, ti yw'r hynaf, beth am i ti fynd gyntaf? Wel, camodd hi ymlaen, a chododd hi y llun arbennig hwn o'r tirwedd, a dyma pawb yn, achos mi oedd hi yn ffantastig, mi oedd hi mor brydferth, a oedd pawb yn sicr taw hwn oedd y peth mwyaf brydferth yn y byd. Da iawn, medde'r brenin, ond ma' na ddau beth arall i fynd, newn ni aros tan bod ni wedi gweld pawb. Trodd e at yr ail dywysoges. Nawr, dy tro di, beth wyt ti wedi dod? Wel, dyma hi'n ymestyn i fewn i'w ffoced a chymryd allan y perl a dadlapio'r perl a dyma pawb unwaith eto yn anadlu yn fewn achos welodd y perl a yr holl liwiau ar ei harwyneb hi oedd hi mor brydferth. Da iawn, medde'r brenin, mae hwnna hefyd yn beth prydferth iawn. A nawr, trodd e at y farchu engaf, y dywysoges olaf, a dwedodd e, wel, beth amdana ti, beth wyt ti wedi dod? Edrychodd hi ar y llawr a dwedodd hi, dim byd. Dwi mor sori, ond does gen i ddim byd i ddangos. Ond gwenodd ei thad arni hi, a dwedodd e, ti'n anghywir. Achos pan oedd ti mas yn y wlad yn cerdded o amgylch, ges i newyddion bob diwrnod o ba mor garedig oedd ti. Ac felly mi rwy ti wedi dangos i mi y peth mwyaf prydferth yn y byd mawr crwn, sef calon caredig, a ti fydd yn rheoli'r wlad pan dwi wedi mynd. Once upon a time, there was a king. And this king ruled a great kingdom, but he knew that his time as king was coming to an end. And he wanted to decide who was going to rule his land when he was gone. Now this king had 3 daughters. So he called his 3 daughters to him, and he said to them, here is a bag of gold for each of you. I'm going to give you 1 week and I'm going to send you out into the kingdom, and I want you to use this bag of gold to find the most beautiful thing in the world and bring it to me, and after a week we will decide who is going to rule the kingdom. Well, the eldest princess, she knew exactly where she was going to go and look for the most beautiful thing in the world. She travelled to a little village on the far off edge of the kingdom, and in that village there were artists. Artists who were weaving beautiful rugs, artists who were painting beautiful pictures. And she went to a marketplace where all these artists were selling their wares, and she walked from stall to stall, and finally there she saw a picture, a painting, a landscape that was so beautiful that when she looked at it, her heart beat fast in her chest, and she knew that this was the most beautiful thing in the world. So she gave that bag of gold that her father had given her to the artist. She took that landscape, she wrapped it up, and she took it back to the castle. Now the second daughter, the middle princess, she went north. She went to the mines where people were digging in the ground and they were pulling up fine jewels that glimmered in the sun. And she found herself walking around all these shops where people were selling jewels, pearls and diamonds and rubies and gold and silver. And that was when she saw, in the window of one of these shops, she saw a pearl that was so perfect and beautiful that all the colours of the rainbow were shifting on its surface. And she knew she had found the most beautiful thing in the world. So she took that bag of gold that her father had given her, she gave it to the person selling the jewel, she took that pearl, she wrapped it up safe, and she took it back to the castle. Now the youngest princess, she had no idea where to look. She took her bag of gold and she went wandering. She just walked away from the castle into the kingdom, and as she was walking along the road, she came across an old man. This old man was sitting by the road and he clearly had nothing at all, not a single penny on him, and he looked hungry. And so the youngest princess reached into the bag of gold and she took out a gold piece and she pressed it into the old man's hand, and his eyes lit up and he smiled at her. And from then onwards, the youngest princess just walked from town to town, village to village, hamlet to hamlet, and wherever she met people that were in need, she reached into that bag of gold and she took out a piece of gold and she pressed it into their hands. And wherever she went, people smiled. But that bag of gold got empty very quickly. And at the end of a week, the youngest princess had nothing to show. And she just had an empty bag. And she went back to the castle with her head low. Well, now that the 3 princesses had returned, the king gathered everybody in the court together and he said, "Today is the day that we will decide who will rule the kingdom when I am gone." So he turned to the eldest princess. He said, "As you're the oldest, you can go first. Why don't you step forward and show everybody what you think the most beautiful thing in the world is?" Well, the eldest princess was very pleased. She reached for that great painting that she'd chosen. She pulled off the dust sheet and everybody in the crowd, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. They felt their own hearts beat fast as well at the sight of it. "Thank you," said the king. "It is indeed very beautiful, but we must see your sister's work first." So he went then to the middle princess. He said, "Why don't you show us what you think the most beautiful thing in the world is?" Well, the middle princess, she reached into her pocket and she took out that pearl and she pulled off the little cover, and everyone, because indeed you could see all the colours of the rainbow shifting on the surface of that pearl. And again, once more, the king said, "Well, thank you, it is indeed very beautiful, but we must go to the youngest princess first." Well, now it was the youngest princess's turn. She looked at the floor and she said, "I'm so sorry. I have nothing to show. Nothing at all." But the king raised his youngest daughter's face to him and he said, "While you were travelling through my kingdom, news of your kindness reached me every day. So you have indeed showed me the most beautiful thing in the world, which is a kind heart and a gentle soul. And so you will rule this kingdom when I am gone."